Everyone, this is Dieke. I'm a member of the ArtbyMarlene Promoteam, and I want to show you today how to make a chocolate bar wrapper. So I'll talk you through. Here you can see the chocolate bar. I took a piece of watercolor paper and I wrapped it around the chocolate bar. And I cut off the piece that was too large. Then I folded it around the bar. And then with a folding bone I made my lines a bit sharper, so to say. Then I took the stencil from ArtbyMarlene, the one with the bubbles, and I take a distress ink and put the ink directly onto the stencil. I start with the lightest color first, then another color, and then a slightly darker color. Then I spritz it with some water. I take the piece of paper I want to use for the chocolate bar. I turn around my stencil and push it onto the chocolate wrap. Then remove the stencil and you see a watercolor effect. I kinda like it. Then heat it if you like. You can also leave it to dry, or maybe tap off some of the excess ink and water. You saw I've put the stencil on a piece of plain white paper. When I put my distress ink onto the stencil, the excess ink will come onto the piece of white paper. And when I'm finished, I've got another background to use. So here you see me repeat the process again. I've put the distress inks on and sprayed it with water again and pressed it onto my chocolate wrap. I did have some ink remaining, so this ink I'll also put onto my chocolate wrap and then heat it again. We've speeded up this process. Then I put my chocolate wrap aside for just a quick tip. I've taken a piece of paper from my art journal from ArtbyMarlene, and then the stencil with the remaining distress ink. I've put the stencil down with the ink on top, and I take a baby wipe and wipe off all the ink. So I clean my stencil, and I also have a background ready for another time. So I'll put the journal page aside and get back to my chocolate wrap. This piece of plain white paper I can also use again. Then I take the new stamp set from the Art by Marlene new series, the 5 series. This is a stamp set with all kinds of useful backgrounds. And I'll just take a nice stamp out, ink it up with distress ink again, and spritz it with some water. And I'll press it onto the chocolate wrap. You also get a nice watercolor effect. And then repeat the process with another stamp and maybe another color of ink. Spritz it with some water again and press it onto my chocolate wrap. So you don't get a real clean, crisp image, but a nice watered down image. And you see me repeat this process until I'm satisfied with the results. You see me also stamp one image 3 or 4 times, because I also like the slightly lighter color you get by stamping it several times. I've used some different stamps of this new stamp set. It's really a really handy and useful stamp set with so many designs. Then I wanted to use a bigger stamp and I didn't have the right size of acrylic block, so I took another one and it still isn't quite the right size, but for this technique that's not such a problem. If you want a clean, crisp image, you need a fitting size of acrylic block. So my background is quite finished for now. I've used the blues and the greens because this chocolate bar was meant to be for a boy. He turned 19, so I needed some guy-like colors. So no pinks today for me. With this stamp set with different backgrounds, you can always make yourself a card or wrapper for boys or men. Then I've heated up my background again to get on with the next step. beetle is so nice and silent. You didn't hear it, right? Then I take acrylic paint, just a tiny little bit, in the same colors I've used in the background. And I take a gift card or credit card to pick up some of this acrylic paint. I'll put my card vertically and pull it onto my chocolate wrap. These colors really pop, and that's what I like, to give it a bit extra. You see me using a little bit more of the green. And scrape it onto my chocolate wrap. Just in some areas. Here you see me use it in 5 places. I've learned that an odd number is better for the eye. So if you use stamps or images or colors, use it in 3 or 5 different places. Then the blue. I also wanted to use the blue acrylic paint. I scrape it with my gift card to my chocolate wrap, just in several places, and heat it again. And just a little touch of green to get another effect. I've taken a little drop of acrylic paint and I've watered it down with my water spray, and I'll take a stick and tap off the inks, so I'll get some splashes of paint. I always like these splashes of paint. You can see them a little bit, so that's why I wanted to use the blue also. Just a little drop of acrylic paint, water it down, take my stick, wipe the stick through the paint, and then tap it off onto my chocolate wrap. You can repeat this process until you're satisfied. I've heated the green and blues again, and then I took my black acrylic paint. This is more of a liquid paint, so I can take my stick and put it immediately into my paint jar and tap it off, this ink. Because of the black splashes, the other colors pop even more. So I always like the black splatters of paint. And of course, heat it again. I took my black ink pad and a sponge to make the sides of my chocolate wrap black. I always like the black sides to the paper. So I'll do all sides of the paper to give it just a little bit of shade. Then I've also made the folds black. So your chocolate wrap is the same on all sides. And then the background is finished for now. So I've taken the new die cut book from the 5 series and I found a picture of a snail. I like this one. With these die cut books you can easily take out the images and stick them to your card or your project. So here you see me wrapping around the new wrap. I'll glue down the snail to the paper, and I've made some texts. It says happy birthday. The only thing I need to do right now is glue them all to my chocolate wrap and glue the back together. So this is my finished project. Thank you for watching and see you next time.